Okay, I've cut out my pattern and I am ready to pin it to my fabric. I have my little trash can handy because I'm going to throw my trash in there. I have in front of me 2 different pairs of fabric scissors because we have these in our classroom. I have my straight pins and my pattern and my fabric, and I did have some paper scissors. Paper scissors are different than fabric scissors because they're going to cut different. Now, if they're really sharp, they'll cut through this. I will tell you that a pair of scissors like this, if you don't have a pair, are not particularly cheap. So don't worry about that. But you can get a pair of smaller, a little bit longer blade here, smaller fabric scissors for about $2. They have a little blue handle. I have picked them up before at Walmart. So if you want a pair of, just kind of small fabric scissors that you can cut your fabric with, when you go to get your material, if you're not using upcycled material, pick up a pair. That way you're just using some that will really cut your fabric for you. So sometimes the paper scissors will work depending on how dull they are. All right, so let's move these out of the way. And we're gonna start with our pinning. And you can see I have a fold. So what I drew, I just folded it so that I would have a symmetrical side. My little monster will not have arms. You certainly could put arms I would make them the same size as this. Or I think, you could even sew on something else, piece of fabric or ribbon or something. Okay, let's fold. This is the color I've chosen, this fun little turquoise. I think I picked it up at Hobby Lobby. And I'm gonna fold it in half because I need a front and a back of my monster. So I'm gonna put him in the center, take my straight pins, and I'm going to tuck, pin stuck at the top. I do not want these pins hanging over the edge here because we're going to be cutting it out. And every time I pin, I'm going to smooth it out just a little. Excuse me. And always be looking, make sure that I don't have any big puckers in the back. Okay. And I like to go side to side, like top, side, then go side again. Notice that I'm smoothing it out. Tuck, pin stuck. Again, I don't recommend that you do this when you have stick pins in a pattern or on fabric. And then I'm going to come down again. I'm going to smooth it gently down because it is starting to pick up and be tight. I'm going to tuck, pin stuck down here in the leg. I don't need to have them every inch around. That would be unnecessary. Okay, so I'm going to come down here closer to the leg right here. Okay, again, I'm pressing it. I'm going to turn it over, smooth it, make sure I don't have any like buckles and bubbles because I really do want my pieces to be the same. They need to mirror each other. I'm going to put one more piece, so I'm going to come right down the center, and I'm going to put it right here in the center between his legs so that I have my pattern is not going to wiggle. Now I'm going to use my larger fabric scissors. These would work. It would take me some time. They're a little too small. When we're working in our classroom and we have our little monkey that we make, it is pretty tiny. But for this particular pattern that I have, I'm going to go ahead and use these big ones. I might need to use the little ones when I get there. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. And again, I hold it because I am right-handed. I hold it on the left side. And I do not want my fingers to get in front of that blade ever. So I don't turn my arms, I turn the pattern. Okay, and I'm cutting through 2 pieces of felt, which is kind of important to note. Now I am gonna stay pretty basic with, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut off because there's no reason for me to try to get around that. And I see that that's kind of a weird shape right there. But I'm not going to worry about too much because when I sew it together, you won't notice it. I'm going to go ahead and cut straight across and find that little rounded piece right there. And then I'm going to come up through the center. I'm being very careful because as I hold this pattern, I'm being poked by the pins. Instead of turning my scissors, I'm going to turn my pattern and fabric, cut that way. And then I'm going to come back around and I'm going to hold both these pieces so it doesn't flop down, because I don't have a pin right there. And if that worries you, go ahead and put a pin there. Watch your fingers. Okay. You don't always have to, go like this with your scissors, because sometimes you can cut things by just a little cut like that. If you need to go all the way through, you can. Okay. Now I don't know if I'm going to need any of these scraps or if I even want them. Sometimes I do save the pieces, I cut them and I save them for later, like this, because I don't want it to have just randomness. I like it to be a little organized. So I might just cut them in half, like so, make a little stack of my scraps, okay? And if I need this for anything in the future, I have it. I do this in the classroom too. This way we don't waste, because we can cut little things out of it. So right now, I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna move it to the side because I don't need it right now. And I'm going to take my pins out of my pattern, put them back into the pin cushion, okay? These are my favorite pins with the little, balls on the end, because they're easier to push in than the ones that sort of look like a nail, like that. Okay, now it's up to you. If you want to keep your pattern, you certainly can. I don't need to keep it. I'm putting it in my trash can. And now I have my 2 pieces, and it's not exact, and that's okay because I'm going to sew it. So they're going to mirror each other. I have a top and I have a bottom, okay? They might be the same if I go like this because of how I cut my pattern. That's fine, but if you didn't cut but you can see it doesn't match in some areas. So I always say you have a top and you have a bottom, okay? And if you need to, you're gonna remove your top, and you can just put a tuck pin, stuck a pin in the bottom so that you know that this is the top of your back side, okay? If that makes any sense, because when we sew it together, we wanna make sure it matches. But we're gonna work on just the top portion first, because now you get to put some embellishments on it. You can add maybe a tummy right here, or you can add eyes. You can add just about anything, and then we're gonna sew it together, okay? So we'll come back and we'll do that, but let's get that part done first. Your pattern pinned and your fabric cut.